Please pray with me. This very moment, this very time, in this very place, we are not alone, as God is with us. It's time to remember that and to know that we are all part of that one. There is no separation. We are all one. We are here to love one another and to love ourselves and to show joy, to experience joy, to enjoy this life that we are given for whatever time we are here. So in this knowing, we know too that the services this morning are blessed. Reverend Jenn is blessed. All of our volunteers are blessed and blessings to us. Our ushers, our practitioners, our AV team, our music. We are so very blessed with all of these things and all of these people who make them all work. We are also blessed in knowing that all who are here are a blessing to us, as we know all of those who haven't been able to make it in today are also blessed wherever they are, whatever they're doing. Because God is always with us wherever we are. So just knowing this and taking this in, we know that it's time for us to just breathe and just know that God is with us and that we are one with that oneness. So for this, we are so grateful, so thankful as we say together, and so it is. We have some words of inspiration today. The first one is actually from a movie, The Girl on the Train. Here's why self-care is more than Netflix and spa days. It's what you feed your soul. And the second one is from Anonymous. It's very, very popular. An empty lantern provides no light. Self-care is the fuel that allows your light to shine brightly. I thought that was really good to remember that. And from our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, I cleanse the windows of my mind that it may become a mirror reflecting inspiration from the Most High. I do this not with strenuous effort, but through quiet contemplation, through gently reaching and affirming an inward recognition. I know exactly what to do in every situation. There is an inspiration within me which governs every act, every thought, with certainty, with conviction, and in peace.
I am open to the possibilities, and I am open to the possibilities of a life that is meant to be lived by me. I am open to the possibilities. I am open to the possibilities of a life that is lived beautifully by me. am open to the possibilities of a life that is meant to be lived by me. There's a road ahead as far as I can see. With so many possibilities, we take it step by step into the mystery. I surrender, I surrender. I am open to the possibility. I am open to the possibility of a life that is lived and meant to be. I am open. I am open. I am open. I am open.
In Karsh, everyone. We're going to focus on self-care for the entire month of June. Why? Because we don't pay attention to self-care as much as we possibly could or should. So we're going to talk about it quite a bit for the next couple of weeks. I think many of us are challenged with this entire concept because we've been told since we were children that if we want something for ourselves, that's selfish. If we want to do something that's just for me, that I'm just going to do something for me, then that's inappropriate, it's self-centered, and it's excluding the rest of the world. And that's just not the truth. There's a whole piece of dialogue that needs to be in that crux of that belief system that we have failed to grab a hold of as we could. So one of the things I discovered, because our talk title today is Evolution of Self-Care, I thought, oh wow, it's evolving. I didn't know it was evolving. I appreciate Sharon's quote about how it's more than Netflix and spa days. Dang it, I thought it was Netflix. I thought I had it handled. But evolution means that it's changing, that the world of self-care is shifting. Well, it actually became a focus in the medical field in the 1950s. When doctors discovered that their patients were not taking care of themselves, and as a result, their self-esteem and their feelings of value or self-worth were diminishing because they weren't taking those moments, those times, those opportunities just to pay attention to self and individual habits. And in that expression, they began to work with their clients and patients to talk to them about eating healthy and taking more downtime and having opportunity to rest and those types of things. So it helps us, self-care, helps us to remember who we are. whatever we think about has an impact on who we are and how we are. Whatever we eat has an impact on how we act. And so those are important things. Are we having a problem with the sound?
I'm not sure why it's doing that.
Okay, what is it doing?
Going in and out, I don't know why.
Do I need to use the mic?
Yes, that'd be.
Un momento, everyone.
Technology works till it doesn't.
How's that sound? Okay, let's do this. So as I was saying, knowing that our thoughts impact us, impact our attitude, impact our behavior, the food that we eat. So I was working with a young woman the other day, and she was losing her patience, surprise, over her 7-year-old child. And I'm watching her, and we're engaging, and I'm watching him, doing the boing, boing, boing thing that a lot of 7-year-olds might do. And she's talking about her frustration and how she doesn't want to yell at him. She doesn't want to lose her cool and yell at him. And I reminded her of an acronym that I've shared with you numerous times, so you should probably be able to speak it with me, but we're not going to go there. And it's called HALT, H-A-L-T. And I said, one of the things we really want to pay attention to is, where am I in this moment when I'm losing my mind, when I'm getting frustrated, and when I'm upset with another person, whether it's the news or the traffic or someone you know directly. What's going on with you in that moment? Because this is where we find out if we're taking the time for self-care. So the acronym HALT stands for hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. And what I was telling her is, I said, if you feel hungry right now, and it was close to lunchtime, so that was a key factor, you're not going to react with as much loving kindness as you could, because you haven't fed your body self-care. If you're angry, if something has upset you and you haven't been able to work through it, you're going to be reacting from that energy level until you get a grip on that. If you're lonely, and lonely is not just that I'm so alone in the world, but it could be something as simple as, something's happening to me, I'm feeling a little bit fearful about it, and now because of that, I'm feeling alone. I'm feeling like there's no one to support me. So in that situation, then our responses are different. And then tired, of course, when we're exhausted, absolutely. Are we going to respond differently? So these are just some key areas to look at, where we want to look at, have we taken care of ourselves first? Because if I haven't, even as a young mom, it's going to be challenging to interact with a 7-year-old child who clearly is not tired and has plenty of energy and is, just going gangbusters. So that's just something that we want to think about. So, our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, gives us this quote: "We must come to believe that at the center of their lives there is a wholeness, and we should think of the mind as the door through which it enters. Therefore, we should be very careful to guard what comes into our mind from the opinion of others, and to regulate what comes into it from any source." So, again, Sharon had mentioned a quote from Holmes where he talked about the windows to the soul. And now here he's talking about the door to the mind. What are you opening the door to? What are you allowing to come in and impact your mind, your thought process, your psyche? And today we have to be so cautious and conscientious, because it can happen in a second by just picking up your phone and something flashes up on that phone, and now you've seen something that is horrific or traumatic or disgusting, if you will, and now you can't get it out of your head. And so that's kind of what we're talking about here, is that whole place of looking at ourselves and knowing that there is a level of wholeness that we can maintain for ourselves, but we are the guards. We are the gatekeepers for the mind and the heart, and we have to pay attention to what we allow in. What a simple concept, and yet it can be so challenging. So just think about it for a second. Any moment in time where you saw something that you really didn't want to see. Maybe it was graphic, maybe it was on a movie, maybe it was, you drove by an accident or something, maybe it's something, and then you're trying to have this conversation with yourself to let it go and to not hold on to that because it was so traumatic, it was so challenging. And we're in the world where everything is shown to us. The filters are gone. I don't know if you noticed, but they're not here anymore. We don't see big disclaimers on the television set that says what you're about to see could be graphic in nature. A lot of times it's just kind of there and you have to kind of decide if you really want to look at it or not. Social media is more challenging because there are less filters. And I see some posts where the screen is kind of blank and it says that this content has been removed. And I'm thinking, oh, thank goodness. Because whatever it was, I don't think I wanted to see it anyway. So we're oversharing, bless our hearts. And we do that for a reason, and we do that for a purpose, but some of us are too tender-hearted, maybe, tender-minded, to deal with a lot of that stuff that just gets filtered into us. Pema Chodron says to us to be kinder to yourself, and then let your kindness flood the world. Another really good reminder, a really good reminder that if I take care of me, once I take care of me, once we take the time to really feed the soul and the spirit, to feed the body, to give it the rest, the nutrition that it needs, to give it the peace that it needs. Once that happens, then we are prepared to take a stand and support the world. So just think about that for a moment. How do you feel when you're cared for? Whether you are taken care of by someone else, someone gifts you something or spends some time with you or whatever, and it just felt very valuable, or you've taken the time for yourself, how do you feel in that moment? What is the energy in your body when you have been cared for? When you've had a good meal, a healthy meal, you didn't overeat, it's not Thanksgiving, you just partook of whatever you needed to, and it fed your soul, it fed your being, it fed your body. And then how do you feel? That's the idea we want to look at this week and really hold on to, is, oh my gosh, maybe I don't need to lay down and take a full-out nap, but maybe if I just laid down or sat down and closed my eyes for 10 minutes, I'd feel a little bit better. And then try that. Give that to yourself. Gift that to yourself and see what happens. Dr. Holmes also tells us this: I am perfect, no matter what my appearance may be. I love it. I love this quote from Dr. Holmes. No matter what my appearance may be, we use the terminology in this philosophy a lot. You are perfect, whole, and complete. We throw that around like candy. We don't even think about it. We just say we call that jargon. We say it all the time. Nobody thinks about it. What in the heck does it mean? If I am in so much pain I can't function, if I have done something and my digestive system seems to be out of whack, how can I buy into your story that I am perfect, whole, and complete? Well, what we're talking about here is the perfection in spirit. Divine perfection in the eyes of God. Spirit does not see our flaws. Spirit does not see the color of our hair. Even though we were created in all this unique, wonderful diversity of who we are, Spirit isn't focusing on that. In the eyes of the divine, we're perfect. No one of us was created imperfect. We've tried to make that so. We've put a whole lot of stuff out there about that. Some cultures even have challenges with children who were born and didn't look the way that they thought they needed to look, have that perfection about them. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the fact that everything in God's world is perfect. So this week I want us to really focus on this. Everything in God's world is perfect. That means that we have the freedom to see the world through the eyes of God. We have the freedom to do that. That means we can be free from judgment, criticism. We can be free from the portrait that has been painted for many of us of the God of the Hebrew Scriptures. And I can't say that the Hebrew Scriptures are at fault, so don't hear me say that. But the interpretation of those stories and how those were fed to me as a young child told me that I was far from perfect and I would never, ever be perfect. And so to think about that when you're interacting with someone and something comes up about religion, or something comes up in a conversation about a belief system, and we want to turn them around and we want to convince them that we know what we're talking about, and sometimes it's not about that. Sometimes it's just about honoring the fact that this individual has come from a different belief system and might not understand it quite the way we do. I've told you a few times in the past couple of months that we've had little exercises where I've said, go and take a moment and look at yourself in the mirror. Talk to yourself in the mirror. Well, guess what? The perfection that is you is not witnessed in the mirror. So this week I'm going to tell you, you can stay away from the mirror, okay? You don't even have to go in front of the mirror and say anything. All I want you to remind yourself is, I'm perfect in the eyes of God. I'm perfect in the eyes of God. I have another quote by another famous person called Unknown. And it says, taking accountability for your mistakes and being able to talk about them without shame or guilt is power. Is power. Accountability. Wonder why accountability came up in this whole idea of self-care. I thought that was really curious. I'll tell you a little story. So Toby used to work in construction. And he'd show up every day with his lunchbox under his arm and his hard hat on. And he was kind of a grumbly guy, just kind of grumbly, you know. And so Chris got to know Toby kind of sort of in the first couple of weeks that Chris was working there. And what he noticed was Toby would go sit down at lunchtime, and he would open his lunchbox, and he would pull out his lunch, and he would immediately start to complain. Another cheese sandwich? I hate cheese sandwiches. I am so sick of cheese sandwiches. I can't believe that I have another cheese sandwich today. I'm going to die from eating cheese sandwiches. And so Chris thought that was kind of curious, and the next day he sat a little bit further away from Toby when lunchtime came. And again, Toby flipped open his lunchbox and pulled out his food and bit into the sandwich. And he's like, oh my gosh, it's another cheese sandwich. I can't believe this. Why, oh why is God doing this to me? And so Chris finally leaned over and said to him, and he goes, well, if you don't like cheese sandwiches, why don't you tell your wife so she quits making you cheese sandwiches? And Toby looked at him and he goes, I don't have a wife. And he said, oh, I'm sorry. He goes, well, so who's making your lunch? And he goes, I am. And I bring you that story because that's exactly what we do. We go hit the cupboard and we pull out the junk food and we overdose on it, and then we feel ucky, and then we complain, and then we're laying around and we're groaning because our digestive tract is like way out of whack right now. We overwork, we overexert ourselves. We don't want to face, here's why one of the main reasons that, in my opinion, this happens. We don't want to face whatever tragedy or trauma or drama is going on in our life, so we dive into work. We clean the house from top to bottom, or we go work extra hours at the job, or we start a project of some kind, and we're just exhausting ourselves. And then what happens? We're so exhausted we can't deal with just the normal stuff that's going on, and now the trauma, the drama that we were trying to avoid is just kind of blowing right up in our faces. So is it really going to hurt you to take 10 minutes this week, daily, to just be with you, to just allow your being to be fed rested, clothed, whatever it is you think you need. 10 minutes. Let's start there. For those of you who don't do self-care, some of us do other things for self-care, and maybe you've already got your act together. Well, hey, share some of those ideas with some of the rest of us. That's how we support each other, right? Accountability is not about blame. Accountability is about, what did I do to get here? What was the contribution I made to my life, to my decisions, to my behavior, to my habits, to whatever that got me to this moment in time? Okay, I see what that is. I'm going to adjust that so I don't have to do it this way again. That's what accountability does for us. It helps us to truly shift and change. I have a quote here from Audre Lorde. Caring for myself is not self-indulgent. Caring for myself is an act of survival. It's really not that difficult to give ourselves what we need. And it's a process that we can learn very easily. We simply get to be in that space of being aware, moment by moment, and asking, is there something I need right now? If I'm having a conversation with someone and I'm starting to feel that I'm agitated, I absolutely know it has nothing to do with who I'm talking to. It has something to do with what's going on with me. Perhaps the person I'm talking to made a statement that reminded me of someone who really agitates me. There's that possibility. But again, just to be in that accountable process of who am I and how am I showing up right now and what am I doing in the world? And am I really giving that time and support? Because we talked all last month about shining your light. All last month we talked about how we need to shine our light. Sometimes our light isn't ready to shine out to the world because we need to do some self-work first. That's okay. That's absolutely okay. Charles Fillmore said, "Do not put all your enthusiasm into teaching, preaching, healing, and helping others. Help yourself." Many enthusiastic spiritual workers have let their zeal to demonstrate truth to others rob them of the power to demonstrate truth for themselves. We have a lot of people in our philosophy who have reached burnout. Many are ministers, quite a few are practitioners, but probably the largest number in that group are volunteers. It's so easy to get caught up in what you want to do for your community and what you want to do for others and to lose sight of what you need for you. So my encouragement to all of us this week is to take that time to pay attention. And I loved this because it says we have a tendency to put everything we can into the teaching, the preaching, the healing, and the helping of others. Yes, we can do that. And we get to find that balance. I worked with a minister many, many years ago, and I told her, when we got to that point of what do you want prayer for, I said, I want prayer for balance in my life. Now, we'd been talking for an hour. I never used that word once in the conversation we had, but when she said, what would you like for prayer, that's what I wanted. And she said, okay, well, that's great. What does that look like to you? And I said, I have no idea. I've never had balance in my life. And she said, well, then how do you know you don't have it? And I said, I don't know. People keep telling me I don't have any balance in my life. But it was such an interesting concept. Take a minute. What is it you want? What is it you desire? What is it you need? What does that look like? Because if you can't identify it, chances of it just showing up in your world are a little bit slimmer than they would be if you can identify it, if you can talk about it. So let's look at this and not come and face each day during the month of June with an empty cup, with that inability to give to anyone because I've already emptied my cup and I don't have anything more to give you. I found a really cute story about two little boys years ago, and they got into the cookie jar, and there were 4 cookies in the cookie jar. So the oldest brother took 2 of the cookies and gave them to the younger brother, and then he took 2 cookies, and then they both ate their cookies. And the little brother wanted another cookie. And he started kind of having a fit, and he was upset with his brother, and he kept asking him and begging him. And finally, the older brother looked at him, and he said, "I'm sorry. There's no more cookies. I can't give you what I don't have." What a concept. I can't give you what I don't have. With that knowing, then we get to allow one another to take that time away, to take that space, to take that breather, to take a week off or a weekend off or a month off or a year off or whatever it takes, because we know that we can't give what we don't have. And this is the quote, one of the quotes that Sharon also shared today: "An empty lantern provides no light. Self-care is the fuel that allows your light to shine brightly." When we go into that place of self-judgment and self-demeaning thoughts, and these are coming into our head, we are emptying out the fuel in our body. The negativity drains us, takes away from us our stamina, our willingness and ability to combat the issues and the challenges of the world and to face the challenges head on. When we love what we do, when we're enmeshed in our passion and our purpose, we seem to have more energy than when we're doing a task that we absolutely abhor. Those are good things to keep in mind, because when you're doing something you really love, that you're really passionate about, it's still easy to go out there and overdo it, overexert yourself, spend too much time and energy doing that, because the brain handles it differently. But trust me, the body is going to respond in a similar way if we overwork it or we overdo it. And we also want to pay attention to how much stress impacts us. And so this week, my reminder to you is to take care of yourself. Take that moment, take 10, take 20, whatever it is you feel that you need, and allow your body to be fed, nurtured, rested. And then once we've replenished that supply of energy, then can we step in and support the rest of the world and others in the world. And we can open our arms wide up, and we can greet others with love, genuine caring, because we're on target. We've got it together. We are living in that perfect, whole, and complete, and we've done all the physical things we needed to do, and now we can support one another. Please join me in prayer. What I know right here and right now is I know that there is a power. There is a power that permeates all life, and I call it God. Spirit, universal wisdom, divine idea. I know this power is here today. It is with every single person in this room. It is with every single person who sees this video online. It's with all people everywhere. Just in that space, in that presence, waiting, allowing us to reach out and connect. And knowing that this power is always here and it surrounds us and fills us, we know that we are never alone. That we are accompanied by that energy of spirit. Always, in all ways. And so I know this week we take the time to focus on self-care. We take the time to replenish our bodies, our beings, our minds, our emotions, because of self-love and that desire to nurture the self so that we can be stronger and more resilient, and we can be in that place of love and support, not only for ourselves, but for others. And so right here and right now, I call all people blessed. Wherever they are, whatever they're doing, however they worship or choose to acknowledge a higher power, all are blessed. And this week, I turn my attention to seeing everyone through the heart and the eyes of God, of Spirit, accepting, loving, embracing, calling it all good and calling it all perfect. And so right here and right now, we just let this go. Turning it over to the law of mind where Spirit always says yes. We release these words, we let go, and we say together, and so it is.
Sometimes I forget where I'm going to. Sometimes I can't find my way. I wonder if you don't feel that way sometimes too. Then I remember there is no place where God is not. There is no place where God is not. There is no place where God is not. We gotta remember all that we've got. Is that right? Hey, yeah. Sometimes I believe what I see. Sometimes I perceive what I see. Sometimes I just feel like I lose my way. And then I remember what to say. I remember there is no place where God is not. There is no place where God is not. There is no place where God is not. Remember, be grateful for what we've got. Sometimes I have to say, I forget to pray. Sometimes I have to tell you the truth. That's what I do. Sometimes I forget that word help, you know. And sometimes that's the way Spirit is heard. You got to say that word. Oh, remember, there is no place where God is not. What do you think? There is no place where God is not. And there is no place where God is not. All right. We're gonna